name is Thomas Owens, Chattanooga, Tennessee. In 1999, I was arrested and charged with a Class C felony, misapplication of contract funds, Hamilton County, Tennessee. I offered a plaintiff back money and materials and was turned down well before the indictment came down. One of the investigators and the assistant DA said they would look into this. This is well before the charges, of course, came down, and decided that it was a civil and not a criminal case, but a certain detective decided that he would arrest me as per the case of a Scott Kendrick. It was a very similar case, which down the road it ended up being dismissed. At the restitution hearing, once I pled nolo contendere to the misapplication of contract funds, we then stopped and had a restitution hearing. And this is where it gets real interesting. At the restitution hearing, when evidence was presented, the judge stopped the proceeding, bringing the prosecutor and the defense attorney for a sidebar to explain how the charge and evidence did not match. I was not present, of course, and they did, thankfully, they transcribed all the sidebar and bench conferences. And I'm just going to read something verbatim out of the transcripts. Judge Myers, you've indicted him under the section that pertains to the subcontractor. You've indicted him under the section that pertains to mechanics and material liens, a form of embezzlement, if he doesn't pay the subcontractor or supplier. He hasn't really committed any crime, the judge went on to say. My attorney, Jerry Summers, no, Your Honor, that's not what he did. The judge, no, it isn't. That's what he's pled guilty to. My attorney then said, well, you can declare me incompetent. At my age, I'm old. So they're being very flippant about these charges. And, you know, as looking back, and I've had plenty of time being in prison for 2.5 years over this, I know they thought that I would just be found guilty, pay the restitution, and not for this thing to snowball like it did, because it became where I could not pay the restitution, and that's when I was finally put in prison about 5 years after the fact. It came to be, too, that one of the plaintiffs was friends with my attorney, Jerry Summers, at the time, which didn't know that at the time, obviously. And again, you know, with what went on with me was so many times the judge telling them that I had not committed a crime, and they just kept it going and going. And I received all transcripts when I got to prison. I'll back up a little bit. When I went to prison, I started reading about the case and decided that I had not committed a crime. So when we got all the transcripts is when we found all this about no crime being committed. A motion was put in that it was an illegal plea because no crime was committed. That was eventually just swept under the rug. While I was in prison, they brought me back to Hamilton County to adjudicate the motion, which they decided that was waived, which had never been waived in open court. So I'm here today, obviously, because of this injustice and the corruption and just the arrogance of law in Hamilton County.